Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Down Syndrome Center podcast. As always, I am your host, Dr. Kishore Volodi, and today we are being joined by Dr. Thessa Hilgenkamp. I hope I'm saying that right. Dr. Thessa Hilgenkamp, who is here to talk with us today about endurance, aerobic exercise, fitness kind of activities in Down syndrome. We're going to talk about all those different words and what they mean as we go through this podcast. But before we get too far into it, Dr. Hilgenkamp, would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why it is that you love working with this population?
Yes, thank you for having me, Kishore. My name is Thessa
Yes.
Hilgenkamp. My background is in exercise physiology and physical activity research. And I've been doing research with individuals with Down syndrome for, I think, about 18 years at this point. And I just love finding ways of making physical activity and exercise exciting and fun and motivating. And I think people with Down syndrome are one of the most hardworking and inspiring people to work with. So no questions there.
Is there how did you get involved with this population? Was there something that drew you to it?
I was invited by an advisor like way back when I did my program at the university to
Uh-huh.
join a project, and that was my first experience, and I never did anything else after that.
I love it. I love it. We're always looking, as you know, within our field for people who are potentially folks who might be interested in working clinically or research or both in this area. And so I love it when we invite people, even if they don't have a family connection or something, you never know. You never know where their career may head. So I love that your career went in this direction. Well, you said some things you were talking about. We were talking about exercise and specifically exercise in people with Down syndrome and motivation. And boy, a lot of what you were saying, I'm hoping at the end of this podcast, I'll be motivated to exercise more often than I do. But why don't we just start off with some basic like definitions? Like, give us some terms that we should understand when it comes to this field that you work in.
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of people really think of fitness or endurance as the word that people use most often. The official word would be cardiorespiratory fitness. That's the word that the American College of Sports Medicine uses. But it's really used interchangeably a lot. So anything that really relates to the ability to sustain an activity. And you can think about like being able to walk to a grocery store, last through a whole day of Disneyland. All of that is working on endurance.
Yeah. And so those terms are kind of used a little bit more like interchangeably, you're saying, in terms of in the lay and also in the research kind of world?
Yes, yeah, and
Yeah.
it really is in ultimately it's defined by your ability to use oxygen for activity. So
Yeah.
the gold standard would be peak maximal oxygen uptake, and you can measure that with like a maximal exercise test. And we can actually do that with people with Down syndrome. They are perfectly capable of doing that. And they really enjoy doing that. It's the favorite part of all the data collection that we usually do. But in general, it's about how capable you are of doing a certain activity and being able to last or sustain that activity for some period of time.
And so what is it about exercise, aerobic fitness, endurance? What is it about these things that just in general that people need it? Like, why can't we just all sit around on our sofas and watch TV all day?
So our bodies are made to move. So it's really healthy for our bodies to move. And by moving, we're really having a lot of different effects in our body, not just for our muscles and for our heart, but for our glucose metabolism, for our brain, for our mental health. So moving is incredibly healthy and incredibly good to do that. Recent as recent as last week, there was a paper that came out in the Lancet that showed that really any kind of minutes count. So you don't even have to like reach those 150 minutes per week guidelines to get those health benefits. You actually have the biggest health benefits with the smallest increases from sedentary to even low active. So every minute counts, and it's just healthy for your body to do that.
Okay. And when we think about people with Down syndrome, of course, we've done many podcasts on the medical issues that can come up in people with Down syndrome, and I'm sure that there are some of those issues, and also just some differences with regards to fitness in people with Down syndrome that you might be able to highlight for us. What are some things that you think about as you counsel patients or their families?
Yeah, so for people with Down syndrome, what we see in general is that their fitness levels are a little bit low on the lower side. And partially that's explained by maybe not participating in activity a lot of the time or not doing more intense workouts. But there's also a physiology side to that story that often gets overlooked. For people with Down syndrome, when they exercise, their heart rate doesn't go up as much as you would expect that to happen in someone who doesn't have Down syndrome.
Hmm.
And that's due to differences in autonomic function for people with Down syndrome, which really cause their heart rate to be regulated a little bit differently, blood pressure to be regulated a little bit differently. But what that means in practice, that if someone with Down syndrome, for example, has a heart rate of 113 when they're doing an exercise, that is moderate intensity for them. But if that same heart rate for someone who doesn't have Down syndrome, that would not even be light intensity exercise. And that just has to do with the different range that they're capable of reaching. So there's a specific Down syndrome formula, and we can use the resources to help people guide to that formula. But that formula gives you a Down syndrome specific maximal heart rate, and then it's easier to get to the right target heart rates if you're working with someone with Down syndrome.
Oh, that's really interesting. I mean, definitely we've thought about the fact that just in general at rest that the heart rates and blood pressures tend to run on the lower side for people with Down syndrome. It's interesting to think that, if somebody's trying to reach some goal heart rate that's set for the general population, that might be actually too high for somebody with Down syndrome.
It is, yeah. And
Yeah.
it like at that maximal heart rate, it makes about 25 to 30 beats per minute difference. So
Yeah.
it's not a small difference. And I always think about it like if someone is working really, really hard and within their range that is at moderate intensity, we should appreciate that. We should celebrate that effort instead
Yeah.
of trying to push someone like more and more because we don't have the right reference values that we're using. And even like not being, if I'm working in the gym and I'm working really hard and I don't get the appreciation for my effort, there's nothing more demotivating.
That's true. Yes.
So if I work hard, I want people to praise me for and
Uh-huh.
cheerlead, and like really appreciate that effort that I'm putting in, and that's the same for everybody.
Yeah. And there's definitely been things in the lay press, but also just in the research as well that have shown that there are benefits to exercise in general, even beyond what we typically would think, big muscles and all that kind of. But what are some of the benefits that you've seen that are not often appreciated when it comes to exercise?
Yeah, there's no end to the benefits of
Yeah.
exercise, honestly. So we obviously have all the benefits that we know for cardiovascular health and for muscle strength and for independence that comes with keeping your muscles strong and healthy when you age. And then there are numerous benefits for mental health, for self-confidence, for the ability to participate in activities. We've seen people report that they are more engaging in conversations, that they're initiating activities with the families more, but also the effects long term. So
Hmm.
for the general population, they have a lot of research that supports that fitness is actually more important for future health and for mortality than obesity is. And for people with Down syndrome, obesity is such an important topic. But I always want to make sure that we don't forget about fitness because fitness might just be as important to keep people healthy than to be focusing on that weight.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. And I mean, I even think when I see things talked about when it comes to exercise and mental health, we've done several podcasts on mental health and in people with Down syndrome and how under-recognized it can be. And it does seem like those mental health issues do tend to increase as they get older and perhaps as they become less active for a variety of reasons. I mean, even our teenagers with Down syndrome may not be able to participate as in these competitive sports in their middle and high school ranges, so they become more sedentary. And who knows how many of those things might be impacting. I find it really fascinating that exercise is supposed to be preventative for Alzheimer disease. Those who are more active and tend to have later onset of Alzheimer. I mean, I don't think we have any data for that on Down syndrome, but boy, that's interesting. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Hilgenkamp?
It's funny that you bring that up because
Yeah.
there's a little bit of evidence that is coming out that exercise is supportive of cognitive function in individuals with Down syndrome.
Wonderful.
So the next step is to see if that translates to prevention or delay of the progression of Alzheimer's, and that is up next. Like that is the research that is in the works. So we're extremely excited for like adding yet another benefit of an active life to the health benefits that we already know.
Yeah, that's great. So let's say, taking all of these positive things that we've been hearing about exercise, let's say somebody with Down syndrome or their caregiver or somebody comes to you and says, okay, what do you recommend, doctor, for children and adults, let's say with Down syndrome, when it comes to exercise? What should their goals be? What should they be looking to do?
So that like there's two answers to that question. So
Okay.
yes, there are guidelines, and the guidelines are not that different actually from the guidelines for the general population in terms of doing endurance, doing balance, doing strength exercise, a certain minutes a day, a couple of times a week. But really, what matters, and that's the other side of that answer, is that the only exercise that works is the exercise that you do.
Uh,
Um, and the exercise that you do has to be exercise that you like to do.
mhm.
So the first and foremost goal should be to find exercise or to find a way to make exercise engaging and motivating and to create really successful experiences with exercise, which is not something that everybody with Down syndrome has had in their past.
Yeah.
So creating like a really positive feeling and positive experiences. And that can be different for everybody. So for some people, it's incredibly motivating to do it together with family members or to find a buddy or to be part of a team. For others, that's not really what they like. They like to be in a competition or they like to really work for specific rewards that they want to have goals for. And for other people, they just really like a specific kind of activity. They just really like pickleball or they really like working in the gym. So I think being open to a broad range of options, while also making sure that we're thinking about how we can best make that exercise be like worthwhile. So when you exercise, picking the exercises that give you really the most bang for your buck, and really are the most intentional to get that progress. That's the best use of your time if you're going to be in the gym. So
Yes. Yeah. Well, definitely. And boy, I feel like we've definitely covered a lot. I wanted to know though, are there resources that you had mentioned a few? Are there resources that you would want me to share in our podcast notes, and if so, what would they be so families can take a look at these things?
sure, yeah, we published a paper that really went into a full overview of the things that are relevant for people with Down syndrome for exercise, and that are some of the things that we know, like ligamentous laxity and some of the muscle tone issues. Um, but based on those specific Down syndrome um, characteristics, we developed a program that has the exercises that specifically address those things that they can run into. So, specifically address muscle strength and specifically address hip strength and balance. And those types of exercises would be really good starting points if someone wants to start working out or wants to start working with a trainer or in a gym, then those exercises are a great place to start if you don't know what to do.
That's great. Okay, so we'll definitely include a link to that. And then I think there's also maybe something that the American College of Sports Medicine puts together as well, you said?
They do, yeah. They
Yeah.
have this really extensive manual. It gets updated almost every year.
Yeah.
And for a while now, they've had a specific chapter on people with intellectual disabilities and Down syndrome. And there's a ton of really good tips and tricks on exercise and exercise testing and exercise prescription in that chapter. So for all the trainers and coaches out there that are looking for like a really solid resource, that's the way to go.
I will definitely include those resources in the podcast show notes. And then and we are really appreciative that you came on and shared what is obviously your passion. I do feel like it's time for me to go out to the gym today and do something I love doing. So there you go. You've even impacted me today.
Great.
Yes.
As long as you enjoy doing it, that's the way to go.
That's it. That's it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And to our listeners, I'm so glad that you continue to keep this podcast going. We love it when we get emails from you asking us for what topics you'd like to cover. And of course, we'd always look look for experts in the field, like today, Dr. Hilgenkamp, that we were able to get to talk about the topics that you want us to talk about on the podcast. So you can always send us an email at downsyndromecenter@chp.edu. And if you want to give to what we do here at the center, including this podcast, you can go to givetochildrens.org/Down Syndrome Center. But until next time, bye-bye.